Okay, can everybody see the screen at this point?
I see it.
Excellent. Always good when that works. All right, guys, thank you very much. This is Andy Pedraza with Special Effects Academy on the August 12th, 2018 Forex Weekly Outlook. We're going to take a look at our usual agenda. Prior week, the currency strength meter, fundamental announcements, major pairs analysis, our setups in progress, and a few parting words. What we're looking at right now are the long-term trades. So we did not close out any trades in the prior week. We did open two new ones, the pound Canadian and the euro dollar, both on the short. Of the three open trades, USD CAD and pound Canadian are underwater right now. They've gone against us thanks to the little bit of a tiff that the Saudis and the Canadians are having right now. I still have hopes that they will come back to us, but if they do hit their stop loss, then, well, that's what the stop loss is for. The euro dollar is carrying profit, not a whole lot, but still a significant chunk, offsetting some of the loss from the Canadians on paper. None of these trades, as I said, have been closed, but that is the long term. I will move on to the short term. We had what is by far the best week we've had this fiscal year. So you're seeing the trades that were open on the short-term account. The growth was 24.35% overall. We had one open trade, the euro pound long, which has just in the last few minutes hit our stop loss. So that is a loss to start out the week. But even with that loss, if we included it in the prior week, we're still way above 24%. So in total, we captured almost 600 pips, 593.7. Growth again on closed trades was 24.35%, and a win ratio of 57.89. So again, if you were here for all of these trades, God bless you, probably did very well out of them. And that's about all I'll say about the short term. Well, I'm sorry, I lied. I have a slide here with the results week over week since the start of our fiscal year. And so you can see what's been going on. We've had losing weeks, we've had winning weeks, but this winning week at 24.35% did exceed by more than double the prior best week, which was a little bit over 10%. And doubled the worst week on the positive side, doubled the worst week that was a negative 12%. That was 3 weeks ago. So we've now not only recovered from that week, but we've gone on to exceed by far the growth and the balance for the year. So that is where we are on the short term, and notes an opportunity for improvement, as I mentioned. Best week of the fiscal year so far. It looks like the new approach that we started out is working quite nicely. We've lowered our beta. Beta is the Greek letter that we use to describe risk in trading. So we're using a system that is a lot more sensitive to market fluctuations, which is what we would like to do, given how choppy the market has been in the last month or so. We're going to be continuing that approach until circumstances change. The key lesson being for new traders, and as well as old ones, we adapt or perish. The market is not going to be adapting to us. We need to adapt to the market. Trades that were held open over the weekend, that euro pound long at 0.2 position size, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, that one did close by hitting its stop loss. So that was a loss of about 60 or so pips. I will, of course, factor that in when I send out the ledger for the week. With that, we move on to our relative strength meter for August 12th, and we can see that volatility has definitely returned to the market. The percentage change this week that just ended is more than double the volatility of the prior week, which again goes a long way to explaining why we did so well. We weren't simply in the right trades, which we were for the most, but the movements were a lot deeper in pips than what had been happening in the prior weeks. We hadn't broken the 2% barrier in quite a while, and indeed it came very close to hitting 3% this week that just ended. Looking at the individual currencies, the Aussie, the Canadian were pretty much middle of the pack. Didn't do much of anything, just, depreciated against some and gained against others. The Swiss was a clear contender. It did gain against everybody except yen and dollar. Euro was not in a good position, neither was the pound. JPY was the overall winner, gaining against everybody, and the Kiwi was the overall loser. The US dollar did not do too shabby. It gained against everybody except the yen. And then we have silver and gold just hanging out, again, pretty much middle of the pack for those two. Fundamental announcements for the week. We do not have much going on, even though we have quite a lot of high impact according to the calendar. They really aren't big movers. We have the average earnings out of the UK, GDP out of the EU, CPI and inflation reports out of the UK, retail sales out of the US. The only one that is probably worth paying attention to, given how beat up that currency has been, is the unemployment rate out of Australia that is scheduled for Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we will be playing that one. That's the only one I will put on the calendar through Wednesday. And perhaps on Friday, just perhaps, I haven't decided yet, the CPI coming out of Canada at 8:30, simply because it is a Friday and it's the only Canadian fundie that we have out there. The Canadian is in a very delicate position right now, given the issues with Saudi Arabia, as well as the underlying strength that the Canadian had been carrying thanks to oil price rises in the last few weeks. So definitely we will be trading the Aussie unemployment, and perhaps we will trade that Canadian on Friday. With that, we move on to our major pairs, and looking at the euro dollar, we can see that sharp drop that happened in the last 2 days of the week. We do have an open trade on the long term on the euro dollar in the right direction, so that one is carrying profit. It's broken through several support lines in the last week. So all being equal, if the technicals hold, we should see the euro dollar continue heading down for a while. Moving on to the pound dollar, pretty much the same thing. The pound is in a pretty precarious position given all the political upsets and the Brexit fears. I do not see anything good coming out of the pound, or anything good that would strengthen the pound coming to the market in the next, in the foreseeable future. So we'll see how that plays out. USD JPY is hanging out at a level of support. It does have some downward pressure, and we successfully traded that last week. A good chunk of our profits came from the JPY trades. We'll see if it has enough strength to continue moving in that direction. USD Canadian, of course, has been the upset. It was dropping very nicely into Canadian strength, and we were expecting it to even try to take a trip to the bottom of the chart. Unfortunately, the tiff with the Saudi Arabian government has affected it quite poorly the last 3 or so days of the trading week. And we did get caught on the wrong side of that on a couple of long-term trades. Again, they were meant to be long-term, so it's not too big of a concern for me. Plus, both accounts have been doing splendid, so there's not much risk of an upset. These are simply the risks that we have to take in order to make profits. So we'll continue carrying those, but definitely keeping a close eye on the Canadian. Once the issues with Saudi Arabia break and there's some resolution there, I would expect to see the Canadian recover all that lost ground. So we will be keeping a very close eye on that. USD Swiss still not doing much of anything, so I'm not even going to linger here. It's just moving sideways at a significant level of resistance near the top of the chart. Aussie dollar, of course, continues weakening. The Aussie continues weakening. It looks like it has no bottom. It's burst through yet another level of support. And we do have that fundy coming out this week, so that will be an interesting one to play out. Kiwi dollar, same thing as the Aussie. The two economies are very, they look like twins when you look at the charts. So it isn't having a good period either. And again, lower lows, and it looks like there is no bottom to this one. We haven't found the right entry to go long term on the Kiwi dollar. We'll see if we get something going there before the major move ends. Aussie Canadian, well, again, it's the Canadian, so it suffered from this row with the Saudis, and it gave back a good little chunk. This is another one that I would be very eager to go short in again once the upset ends. With the Euro Swiss, the Swiss has gained a lot of strength against the Euro in the last couple or 3 weeks. And probably, I'm not going to go on a limb and make a prediction, but probably there's going to be a little bit of a retracement before we see another major drop. It's just too overextended. Euro pound, and of course, this one was the one that took us out earlier today when the market opened. It did hit that stop loss. You can see the very, very sharp drop as the pound strengthening against the euro for no good reason at all that I can tell in the last trading day. I'll be looking for another opportunity to trade it back up. That said, most of the pretty close to half of the gain we had last week was with the euro pound, so I'm not too sad that I gave back a very tiny portion of that profit. It was worth the risk. Euro JPY, JPY strength against the euro. So that has also been a nice little move. It's still far off the low. And I'm looking at all the euro pairs very closely. I think we're going to have some good opportunities this week to trade them in either direction. Euro Canadian, I'm not going to linger here either. It had the same issues as all the other Canadian pairs. I would be looking for this one as well to continue moving towards the bottom once the little hissy fight between the Saudis and the Canadians gets resolved. Pound JPY, JPY strength across the board and pound weakness across the board. So no surprise that this one is trading down. We did take a nice chunk of profit out of this one as well this prior week. So all in all, a great pair. Aussie JPY, same thing. We took a nice chunk of change out of it, certainly added to our weekly capture. It is at a major point of support, and we'll see if it has enough strength to break. We still see Aussie weakness and yen strength in the market, so this one may indeed continue to head down. Euro New Zealand, it went in both directions. We saw the Kiwi weaken against the euro and then the Kiwi strengthen against the euro on 2 consecutive days. The weakness, the strength of the euro did not offset the prior weakness, so it didn't quite get back to the level it was at. It is at the very top of the range, and I would be very interested in trading this one down towards the 166, which is the bottom of the sideways channel. And that is a good 600 pips. So this may indeed be a very good trade that if we manage to identify the right entry point. Pound Canadian, again, the Canadian, the pound, they both are having issues. The Canadian issues, I suspect, are going to be short-lived. The pound is going to be having issues for quite a while. So this is another pair that I would expect to be trading down once we get a good entry signal. And that is the end of the charts. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the charts themselves before I move on?
Hey Andy, what's the deal with the Canadian and the Saudi? What's their disagreement?
Okay, in a nutshell, there was the arrest of a reporter or a activist in the kingdom in Saudi Arabia last week, and the Canadians went on the record saying how bad that was and what a shame it is that the Saudis do this and that. And the Saudi Arabians did not like that, and the order from the king was to sell every Canadian asset they owned, even if it was at a loss. So they started liquidating all their positions in Canada and basically dumped on the market. So anything with a Canadian flag on it suddenly went down in price because they were selling millions and billions of dollars worth of assets. And the market could not absorb that. So the price just dropped as if there was no floor.
Yeah, okay. I seen references, to that there was the tip, but I didn't know what it was. It's just a pissing contest, then.
Indeed, that's exactly what it is, a pissing contest. But it did, I mean, the Saudi Arabia can probably buy Canada 5 times over. So this is a fight between a juggernaut, financially speaking, and the nobody. So the Canadians have everything to lose. However, I mean, once the Arabs sell everything they own that has a Canadian flag on it, I mean, what's next? They're not going to attack or anything like that. So
Yeah,
this will end.
yeah, and quickly.
Yes, yes.
Because
There's only some. So either one of the two apologizes and makes up, or they simply run out of things to sell.
if need be, Trump will step in.
Yeah,
U.S. is going to be on the
yeah,
Canadian side.
yeah. Maybe I'll nuke both of them. But anyway, that is the 5 minute version of the row.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
No worries. Okay, so setups in progress. The dollar has had another week of absolute strength for no good reason. It looks like the other currencies just can't catch a break. We should not get overconfident. The fact that the USD is continuing to be strong doesn't mean that that strength is going to last forever. So be very careful trading the dollar. By all means, make money trading the dollar, but always have an exit plan. The euro pairs, they're giving us nice opportunities in both directions, though my bias is on euro weakness. Pound pairs, I don't need to tell my bias. The pound is just in probably the worst position it's been since the Brexit vote, and I would expect more weakness ahead unless something totally unexpected, geopolitically speaking, is going to happen. The Swiss, I'm going to keep this bullet on the Swiss forever until it breaks, but it is near its historical limit when it comes to weakness. I am expecting a reversal into Swiss strength. This is the same message I've had for 2 weeks. It's not going to change. I'm just waiting to see when it happens. And last but not least, the cat pairs. Not going to dwell on this because I just explained it to Rick. Just a cat fight between the kingdom and the Canucks, and that has spilled over into the Forex and every other asset class, causing the cat to weaken. So we're just have to wait it out and see how long it lasts. But Canadian strength, unless the price of oil plummets, will return to the market. And that is it. So again, we've had our best week this year. One of those rare weeks that makes trading an absolute joy. I always remember what a master trader said in one of those interviews I listen to constantly. I just forget the guy's name. But he said that if you can eliminate everything that makes you lose, then there's only one option left to you, and that is exactly right. Now, you can't eliminate everything. But if you keep your losers manageably small and don't limit your ability to profit, then weeks like the one we just had are going to give you a quantum boost on the account balance. They're not going to happen very often. But if we keep losing $100 here, $100 there, and then when we win, we make $1,200 or $2,000, then it all starts adding up. And of course, every week that's not a 24% week isn't a loser. We've got a lot of weeks that give us $200, $300, $400. These 50 pip, 100 pip, 200 pip weeks. We don't have all that many losers. So if you follow a plan, execute that plan, and let your winnings reliably grow, then you're going to see some very good results in the Forex. The short-term trading account, we reset it to $5,000 every week simply because that's what we do. Your accounts do not do that, of course. If you started with 5,000, by now you should have in your accounts, if you started at the beginning of the fiscal year with us with a $5,000 account, you should have about 33% gains. I ran the numbers earlier today, which means you would have around $6,700. When you make profits on those $6,700, they're going to be larger profits because your trading size is going to be just a little bit bigger every time. And that's how your account grows. And don't forget, don't get cocky. Just because we had a great week doesn't mean that we need to change how we do things. We're going to continue following the same trading plan we have. Nothing changes. The fact that we had a really good week does not mean that every week is going to be just as good. A lot of traders make that mistake. They get too cocky when they have a great week, and then their trading plan goes out the window. Always follow that trading plan. If you've noticed, the two charts, the two pictures I've had up were very much oriented towards stars. We're in the middle of a meteor shower right now, which is peaking tonight. So if you can get out, if you're in the right hemisphere and you can get out around the early hours of the morning and look up at the sky, you should see quite a bit of shooting stars between now and probably into the week. So enjoy the outside. And just like we have rare weeks in the Forex, we also have rare opportunities to see things in the sky that are not normally seen. So that's it. I'll leave you on that note. Does anybody have any comments or questions? All righty. Then thanks a lot for joining us. Rick, how's your account working out, the copy trader? Everything looking normal?
Yes, working well.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, guys, then that is going to be it for me. I do appreciate it. And I will catch you next time. Take good care.
Oh boy.